And just coming back for us to continue our series of exploring cognitive distortions. So today we are actually going to be exploring the cognitive distortion of personalization. You ask, what does that look like? Obviously, we know what to personalize something looks like. You correct. It's when there are outside external events, outcomes that precipitate in our lives and we personalize it, meaning that we shift this thing and we reframe it, we distort, okay, through these thoughts, the belief that somehow we should have done something, or it was on us to prevent the outcome, or it was on us that it only happened because of me. I didn't do enough. I wasn't there for a person enough. Just think about that. Try to think about moments where maybe you have had this cognitive distortion of personalization. All right, so what can come from this when we start doing and experiencing this distortion? Negative self-talk doesn't mean we're actually talking aloud audibly. No, it's the way we view self. So there's almost like this self dialogue, right? The subconscious, if you will, that has this negative connotation and association. So when any event, whether it be with something involving another person, like relationships, and it doesn't have to be intimate, it can be family, friends, your children, anything happens, then we don't even consider the whole picture. We just literally go straight to the mirror, not literally, right? But we look at self and we start to list all of these things that, oh, we should have done that. Well, if I had done that, maybe if I didn't say that, maybe if I didn't think that. I mean, these things, these thoughts, man, they can spiral into a place where someone even begins to think, maybe because I thought it so much, I manifested it. So, like we've said so much about cognitive distortions, personalization being no different. That distorted thinking becomes your truth. That is the only thing that you can see before your very eyes is this narrative that is false that you have written, but you continue to feed it, right? With that negative self-talk. So uh, um, let's use, I like lighter examples. So say you at work, something happened. Maybe your position is one that maybe oversees a lot of the different tasks throughout the day and different employees, or just managing operations, if you will, right? Something happens, and immediately the mind goes to, what could I have done differently? Could I have prevented that? Now, that's normal, okay? If you're in that role, then hopefully, as a sound leader, you are able to say, okay, what could I have done differently? The distortion or the unhealthy thinking pattern comes into play once we begin to spiral and we begin to say, such and such happened before, and that was on me. Okay. So if it happened then possibly now that this is happening, it's something I didn't do or something I did wrong. there are so many what ifs and possibilities and potentials in these thoughts. What we're lacking is the validity, the reliability to test them, to even show them to be true. It's us, yo, who feeds this thing. And we've explored where it can come from. It doesn't mean it just maybe started. No, because all of us experience unhealthy thinking patterns at some point in our lives. But when they go unchecked, distortions can become blurred. And before you know it, you're experiencing one distortion, which leads to another distortion. And because of how you feel, then it becomes factual for you. Feels factual. So let's go back. Let's ask some questions when we get to a place where we start feeling that an unexpected outcome was in our control, or much more in our control than it really was. What are some questions we can ask ourselves? Have we actually stopped, checked the facts, and said, what role did I even play? Because here's the thing, that can eliminate a lot of that thought. If you can't even factually tie this distortion to you even being a participant or a specific role in the outcome, then that cancels that out immediately. But what if we can't? What if we don't even realize that we are having this distortion of personalization? What comes then? We already said negative self-talk, negative view of self. Obviously, it's going to increase depressive symptoms. You could even get to a place where you feel stuck, almost like being in quicksand, where you start to feel like you're sinking, slowly sinking, because these cognitive distortions, eventually they begin to overwhelm you and they begin to now get so just up here in the forefront of your mind, even though they came from the subconscious, that they now have even taken away our personal identity. We now identify more with the distortion. Think about that for a moment. We now write narratives for our personal identity based off of a cognitive distortion, based off of a unhealthy thinking pattern that has no proof to back it up. Here's another way, another brief example. You may have people in your family that, you might be like, well, I'm just going to take the blame because I ain't going to let them take it because that's going to be too much for them. But what about you? What about you? Because I will tell you this, um, in the midst of trying to be present and helpful for others, meaning that our motivations were done like in all like just pureness, right? And with the need to just help someone else and take a load off of them, if you will. Where does that leave you at? Would it not further support that cognitive distortion of feeling that that is your goal? To exhibit this strength that has to carry all the burden. Just a different way to think of it, y'all. Just to be more aware. Because surely you don't believe that you, by yourself, we're designed to take on everyone else's burdens, every negative outcome, every instance that did not play out in the most positive way. Think about that. Just briefly think about those moments where we have taken on all of someone else's burdens because our mind is telling us that this is going to be helpful for them. 5 hours later, in my SpongeBob voice, might be 5 months later, and one does not realize why they may be exhibiting burnout. Just giving you examples of the things that can come with experiencing this type of distortion. Like I said before, the same tool applies to all of them. Check the facts. First, before you do anything, validate your feelings. If you feel that you are supposed to have this strength, you are to be the resilient one. You bounced back before, so surely I can do it for this one. If you have that feeling, it's real. That's how you feel. Regardless of what that feeling or view of self and how it was shaped. Could have been shaped, like we always say, developmentally, right? Could have been shaped by just media. Could have been shaped environmentally, right? But as we always ask, how does it happen? How? Did you really have control? We explored radical acceptance before, and this will be a good point to review that again. Radical acceptance just says, yeah, it was a negative outcome. I didn't like it. I don't agree with it. And I'm able to recognize that it was nothing that I could have done about it. Or possibly you may not have been able to do as much as you are telling yourself you could have done about it. Just take the time out to check the facts. Make sure your feelings are actually aligning with what is factual. Be honest with yourself and be able to just say, I don't like the fact, and I accept it is what it is. The fact does not change. We can validate our feelings all at the same time while also acknowledging the fact. It's that balance we always talk about, y'all. So I'm hoping that y'all enjoyed this cognitive distortion, just to review this of personalization. I'm hoping that you will explore various ways where you may be able to implement it, right? Okay, so you say, no, I don't really go through that. I don't have that distorted thinking pattern. I can't identify with this distortion that you're talking about today. Maybe someone else, kind of, exhibits that type of view of self and that view of unhealthy thinking. So either way, I'm hoping that it's going to prove to be helpful throughout your life, this thing called life, helping you to better navigate in a way that gives self more grace because mostly people won't give it that often. Sometimes we have to take that thing ourselves, okay? Remember, we're all doing this thing called life for the very first time. If you need it, give yourself space and grace, whatever that looks like for you. Be kind to yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. Be patient with yourself. I hope that you enjoy the rest of this day, and I look forward to seeing y'all in these YouTube streets. Blessings.